Hello friends, today with the maximum spirituality and scientific interest, I bring to you probably the greatest medical breakthrough of the 21st century. It's a breakthrough that's revolutionizing the treatment of stem cells in the world. It's a treatment that has FDA acceptance at this moment. It's a treatment where the first quantum laser is being used in the world to awaken dormant stem cells. It's something unique. You know, normally when people speak of quantum physics and quantum breakthroughs, most of the times it is hocus pocus. But here we have a real, a true, a brilliant scientific discovery and breakthrough. And I will present to you, its applications, its reach, its impact on humanity, and the man behind that incredible scientific miracle. The man is Dr. Todd Ovokaitys. Dr. Todd Ovokaitys is a medical prodigy who completed his medical doctorate at Johns Hopkins University, where he was one of just 26 exceptional students selected for the accelerated medical program. He graduated as specialist in internal medicine, pulmonary medicine, intensive therapy, and was also the chief of residence at Georgetown University, and also additionally professor at the State University of Louisiana. So with that background in perspective and understanding that this medical prodigy has achieved one of the greatest advances in medical history for humanity, I have the honor and the pleasure of presenting Dr. Todd Ovokaitys. Thank you for being on the show, Dr. Ovokaitys.
A great pleasure to be with you today, Jose.
So how did all this come about? How was it that you arrived at this incredible breakthrough?
Nothing happens overnight. Science goes one observation and discovery after another. So the whole story would be a long story, and it's probably best just to say what was ultimately discovered. It began working with a genius Scottish physicist named Scott Strachan, who was the first scientist I spoke to that didn't think my ideas were impossible, just highly improbable. Yet in 6 weeks, he reversed to practice the ability to re-engineer the output of a laser to create entirely new properties. It's essentially a whole new type of laser that we call a song laser. The unique things that it does are it creates a type of restructuring of the wave output with 2 different types of energy. One is a type of standing wave that has the characteristics that, with the physics model, sends a signal all the way through the body from one side to the other, and also allows the wave packets of light to go 10 to 20 times deeper.
Let me interrupt you for a moment, because that's highly technical, and we need the audience to understand what you are saying. Basically, what Dr. Todd Ovokaitys is saying, that he created the first quantum laser in the world that has the capacity to awaken dormant stem cells in the body, any place where they are at. So how did this idea of waking up dormant stem cells in the body, where does that come from? How did you get there? And why did you use a laser to wake them up?
Well, it's kind of like the penicillin story,
Aha.
where an experiment was done and an observation was made that could have just been discarded, and there was a deeper analysis of what happened. The key features of this new laser, just for simplicity, are depth of penetration.
Okay.
So it can go much deeper through tissue than ordinary laser, which means it can communicate with molecules deep in the body and do things that have been impossible before.
Okay.
And our very first experiment was with a colleague of mine at the NIH, National Institutes of Health, a very famous research.
Oh, yes.
And she was a specialist in bone marrow transplantation, and we didn't know what this laser would do. And she gave me 5 flasks of stem cells from the bone marrow, and we simply passed the beam through these flasks to see if anything would happen. They were put back in the incubator for 24 hours, and when they were pulled out, we saw something incredible, something unexpected and never seen before, which is that in every single flask of these stem cell-like cells, we saw that the cells had lined up where the beam had been. Instead of 8 to 16 cells together, which he said could happen, she estimated there were 1 to 2 million cells that were aligned in an organization, literally in a strand of cells so big you could see it with the naked eye.
But what transcendence does that have for humanity in stem cell treatment? Why does that allow you to make an advance in stem cell treatment?
The biggest challenge in stem cell therapy is being able to get the cells where you need them. First, they have to get where they're needed, and then they have to adhere, they have to stick and stay there. And once they stick and stay, then they can become the cells that are needed and regenerate. So it was an observation where we had literally developed a way to direct where stem cells go.
So basically what you are saying, so that people, normal people, not so highly intellectual as yourself, will understand, basically what Dr. Ovokaitys is saying, that this is the first time in the history of humanity where you can direct the stem cells to any organ, to the brain, to the heart, to the lungs, to the liver, to the kidneys. They can be directed, because until this moment, people receive injections of stem cells, normally via in the bloodstream, but then those cells scatter, they disperse, they don't know where to go, or they may become stranded, maybe in the pulmonary system, and not advance anymore, and then their benefit is limited. Dr. Todd basically is saying here, we put the cells into you and then we can direct them. Correct me if I'm wrong, to the heart, to the brain, to the liver. Is that correct, doctor?
That is correct.
And for example, in the case of the heart, because blood is always flowing through the heart so quickly, can these cells stay in the heart and regenerate the heart? Do you have clinical studies backing that up?
We do have a clinical study, and it was very interesting because our comparison was 1,494 cases summarized in a paper that were actually infused directly into the coronary arteries. So that was a very aggressive way to get the cells into the heart. And the results were only...
Well, why is it aggressive? They put it via a catheter?
Well, because it requires a cardiac catheterization.
Oh, so it's invasive.
It's quite invasive.
Okay.
Putting a catheter into typically a femoral artery, threading it up into the coronary arteries and injecting them. So it's a relatively major invasive procedure. Our method was simply to inject the cells IV with laser guidance, literally directing the beam through the skin over the heart from the front and from the left side, just for 10 minutes altogether. And instead of 8% improvement in 6 months, there was already 14% improvement in 3 days. That was already statistically significant just in 3 days, that improved to 25% in a month, 37% in 2 months, and 50% in 3 months.
So basically, if you compare it to the standard treatment where people receive stem cells, normally the heart would benefit approximately 8% in capacity versus 50% with just one treatment after 6 months. This is remarkable. And if the person carries out a second treatment and a third treatment, will the person have benefit?
We've also seen a stepwise approach. We saw a great range of improvement. The average was 50%, but it ranged from a 15% improvement to a 115% improvement. And we found that the cases that don't respond as much, if we know the treatment, then we can step them up. So it can either be one treatment can take person to nearly normal, or they might need a series to step up.
Well, that's incredible, because I know of no treatment that, I mean, supposedly the best treatment takes you up to 100%, right?
Right.
This takes you up to 100, can take you up to 115%. Now, doctor, I want to take this opportunity to ask you, because you have carried out a transcendental discovery in progeria, which is an exceptional, rare children's disease, where a child, when he's born, will become like an 80-year-old man in approximately 6 to 9 years. So normally these children die very young. And from what I understand and have read and seen in the news, you have treated successfully the first progeria case in the whole planet Earth. Progeria is one of the worst diagnoses that a baby can have, because he will not live beyond 8 or 9 years due to accelerated aging. And Dr. Todd has managed to counter and to reverse this disease. I want you to talk to us about that, because it's impossible. How can you stop and reverse a genetic disease where a person is aging 10 times faster than normal? And then what application does this have for normal people? Can normal people benefit from this also?
Well, that was a series of questions. Let me answer all of them.
Yes, yes.
The progeria case is really historic because we're talking about a model of extreme accelerated aging, where children die as young as age 6, and the actual average age of survival is only 12. So as you say, a 7-year-old can look like they're 90. And there's a very characteristic pattern where they grow very slowly and have an unusual appearance. It's also called the Benjamin Button disease, because of the movie where when Brad Pitt was born, he looked like a progeria baby. Our method for this genetic condition is very innovative, because we're actually using the normal cells of her blood type matched and HLA matched. HLA is the tissue type. You can make sure tissue is compatible. Her healthy 3-year-old brother. And we haven't really talked about the very small embryonic-like stem cells. We call them vSELs for short. That are these cells we make in our body that are very powerful. They can make any type of cell, and they go to sleep when we're born, so they stay very young. They can stay even as young as cord blood, or much, much younger than the person. So for progeria, a special case, because all the nuclei are defective. The protein that allows the nuclear structure to maintain its integrity completely collapses. So DNA damage is accelerated 10 times. Her healthy brother, his cells are normal. So his vSELs can incorporate in her body as though they are her own, and that gives the missing information. What's been amazing is that as we've given her more of her brother's cells, the normal rate of growth of a 2-year-old is about 1 centimeter a month, and progeria is much less than that. For 2 months in a row, the first month she actually grew 4 centimeters, and the next month 3.5 centimeters, which is probably unprecedented. There is the potential that this progeria baby will develop much more normally and potentially live a full normal lifespan.
Let me translate this into simpler terms for the... Basically what Dr. Todd is saying, that we have dormant stem cells in our bloodstream. And these dormant cells can fix any part of your body if they're awakened, if they are waking up. And these hibernating cells, they don't do anything. But this incredible quantum laser developed by Dr. Ovokaitys actually activates them, wakes them up. It's a very simple procedure. You take them out, you radiate them with the laser, you put them back in, and now you have active dormant cells which are completely compatible with you regenerating their body. A procedure very similar to this, a little bit more complex. I don't want to enter so much into technical details. What I want you to understand that the first baby in the history of humanity has actually been able to practically revert progeria with this amazing breakthrough in an impossible case, where science has absolutely no tools until this moment. Now, Dr. Todd, thanks to that, you obtained an FDA approval, was it? An FDA acceptance?
An acceptance letter from the FDA to enter clinical trials this year for fast-track FDA approval for a rare pediatric disease indication.
Is that called an IND, an investigational new drug study?
Yes. For this study, the acceptance letter elevates the vSELs, which have had some controversy because of the unique features, to that of an investigational new drug application for treating a rare, devastating pediatric disease.
Well, that's remarkable because with all the controversy that is around stem cells, you know, there's many stem cell treatments have been highly criticized by FDA, and there are many clinics in North America carrying out stem cell treatments underground, hidden. Some scientists have had to go to Panama and other countries to carry out treatments, but this treatment that you have created has FDA acceptance. And is this the first FDA accepted treatment for vSELs in the USA, or is there another?
The FDA acceptance letter for progeria was the first. We have verbal approval of a second. What's interesting, and we can't claim anything as a treatment until we get FDA approval for that, in pilot studies, we've actually seen significant approval in 4 other rare genetic pediatric diseases, even using their own cells. So the biggest use is for a person to use their own vSELs, even for normal people, because we have been talking about the most significant thing for humanity is actual biological age reversal.
Now, you were able to reverse a progeria case, something impossible in the history of humanity. And someday you'll have the Nobel Prize for that. Now, at least that's what I believe. You know, it's like creating the theory of relativity. Now, what does this imply for a normal aging person? Can this treatment reverse normal aging? And if so, by how much? And how many treatments are needed?
We are using the most accurate clock of biological age at the DNA level that exists. That was developed by a Dr. Stephen Horvath, and it's technical. It's called the epigenetic clock, much more accurate than the telomere clock. And what we found was that there's usually on the order of a 3-year reversal of biologic age at the DNA level per treatment cumulatively. So in our earliest tests, we found 1 treatment period were 3 years younger, 2 treatments 6 years younger, and 4 treatments even 12 years younger. We did a 2-year study where people did 2 to 3 treatments per year, and have a group of people that are as much as 12 to 18 years younger biologically than their birth date age, and their physical performance, health, fitness, muscle growth, even improvement in hair and hair color, cosmetic appearance, energy, cognitive function. All of those things that you associate with being younger are things that we've seen improve.
You know, it's interesting because we've had clinics in Puerto Rico for the last 23 years. We've been doing regenerative medicine. And this is the first time, you know, people speak of anti-aging, but this is much more than anti-aging. This is age reversal. Goes beyond, because people say, well, you know, I look old, let me look younger. So they do carry out cosmetic procedures and surgery and a lot of stuff, and they take things that supposedly will stop the aging process, but you are reverting it. So you're telling me that a treatment, and this has been proven scientifically with this incredible stem cell aging clock that is able to measure the biological age, you have been able to prove that the biological age goes back 3 years per treatment in average? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. And what's interesting with the company that we use, True Diagnostic True Age, considered one of the leaders in the measurement of biological age, the overall data collection was 242 data points, and the average biological age of the people that received treatment was 9 years younger than their birth date age. So we're now doing a subset analysis. Did they have one treatment, two treatments, and the timing of that, so that we can gather that for a publication to systematize the incredible results that we have. We weren't expecting that much biological age reversal, as well as the physical performance enhancement of the people receiving treatments.
Now, this is incredible, and perhaps you cannot say it, but I can infer it. You know, most chronic degenerative diseases are the result of aging. So if we can reverse aging, can we, to a certain extent, revert chronic degenerative disease? Is that possible?
When I met with the founder of True Diagnostic, he made a quote that if biological age were reversed 7 years, it would reduce all-cause disease by about 50%.
Wow. So most chronic degenerative diseases begin after age 35, 40, you know, like late diabetes, diabetes type 2, atherosclerosis and so forth. So are we saying that if a person, for example, at age 35 begins on this treatment, he can actually maybe avoid atherosclerosis because he can basically begin to reverse his age? That would be the impact on a young man of 35. What's the impact on a person like me? I'm 68 years old. Do I have any chance of becoming 40 again?
Well, you function like 40 already.
Biologically.
Well, it's beyond hope in the sense that we've actually got scientific evidence with the most accurate clock that exists, and now we're extending that to looking at performance metrics, muscle strength, exercise performance, so-called VO2 max, which is a big hallmark of aging and actual functional performance over time. That's basically how much oxygen you can consume when you're doing heavy exercise. All these metrics point to what I think the biggest utility of this. It's most ideally for people that are younger and healthier, with the idea that if you can reverse biological age, the simple formula would be see how far it goes back and then wait that long to do another one and do it again. So literally you can have almost like Groundhog Day, where the person, Bill Murray, lived the day over and over and he got better and better at lots of things. You can use that time to become better and better at whatever you want. So every cycle you can be an enhanced version of yourself. My my big thing, my big passion is even more than biological age reversed longevity. It's the human potential, human performance. What are we capable of? And I'll comment on anti-aging. I was lecturing in Boston, and Dr. Church, famous for CRISPR, made a presentation and made the comment that anti-aging is boring.
Right.
Makes the idea that aging is, in a sense, slipping down a slope, and if you don't do any of the right stuff, it's faster. If you work really, really hard, it's slower, but it's kind of discouraging because it's always going downhill.
Exactly.
The idea of going back up and performing at a higher level, that's what's exciting, and being able to go back up and stay there. It's really a question, what are we capable of if we have more time? And we can intend, like Bill Murray did, to learn the piano, become skilled at many things.
Well, you know, I want to comment here on something that I consider very important, because you cannot say it. You cannot make the claim, and we will not make any claims in this interview. But this therapy obviously enhances structure function, which is something that we can say because it's not a claim. The FDA allows for that to be said. So if a person has better function, like being able to play the piano better, or to run better, or to have more capacity for aerobic exercise, he will obviously have better function. So thank you very much, Dr. Todd. It's a real honor to have had you here. But before leaving, I want to say that for the first time in history, in US history, there's a stem cell treatment that is allowed. We cannot make any claims, we're not making any claims, but it's allowed. And that is an important advance in the history of stem cell treatment. Secondly, they're your own stem cells, they're not somebody else's. There's no contagion, danger here of transmission of anything, because it's yours, it's your body, it's your tissue. You are activating your own stem cells, and they are the ones that are now awakened within you. You don't have to travel to another country to get the best stem cell treatment that exists. Now allowed in the USA and created by this remarkable prodigy, whom I want to acknowledge as a gift to humanity, Dr. Todd Ovokaitys. Thank you for this opportunity to interview you and to take your message to humanity.
My great pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Hasta la vista.